Hey guys, thanks for joining in again. Today we have Malini with us. She was a student of TUHH. Just last week she got her final degree of masters and now she will no longer be a proper student of the TU at least. So Malini, thanks a lot for joining us. Tell us something about yourself.
I am actually a chemical engineer. I mean, my bachelor's was in chemical engineering. So when I was thinking of doing a master's, I mean, I was actually confused whether to choose US or whether to choose Germany in the first place. So, but then later when I did some research where I saw the scope of chemical engineering in Germany. I mean, it is a pretty very widely applicable field, and that too TU offered a really nice combination of both chemical and bioprocess at the same time. Although I had some one or two subjects in my BTech, but I don't think it was like good enough, I would say.
Okay.
When you are a chemical engineer, you usually focus on the hardcore chemical engineering subjects like fluid mechanics and heat and mass transfer and so on. So, but this was a new program. I mean, it was very, I would say, very unique and very well planned curriculum was presented in this university. So then once I applied to it, I was like lucky. I would say that, my application was accepted. And later, of course, I would say the first semester was like really, really hard, really hard because we had like so many subjects, one on top of the other. I think five modules, and each of them had like two or three exams. So, two or three subjects. So, it was like really, really hard.
Okay.
But then I realized that I think I will just go according to my pace. I thought that okay, let me not take some extra subjects or something like that. Let me just stick to my curriculum. And so yeah, then I think second semester it was like lighter. I wouldn't say any easier, but I would say a little lighter.
Okay.
I think the workload was a little less. And yeah, and then I think in my second semester, the reason I could finish it within 2 years was the fact that I started my project arbeit in the second semester.
Okay.
So I did that, and I started my thesis in the third semester.
Wow,
So
that's really fast.
so that's how everything kind of the jigsaw puzzle kind of fell into the place, and that's how I actually finished my masters in 2 years.
Yeah,
So
because
yeah,
it's not normal here, honestly. I mean, most of the students, they at least take 5 semesters. Some even take like, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years.
yeah,
It
true.
is pretty normal here. What kind of profiles did the other students have around you when they got admitted to the chemical and bioprocess engineering?
Well, what I know was, I mean, I'm just talking with respect to my classmates, my batchmates. So there were, I think, an equal balance of biotech engineers,
Okay.
process engineers, chemical engineers, and sometimes they had also, I mean, there was, I think, one food engineer candidate. I mean, yeah. So I mean, it was a varied profile, but mostly everything was focusing on process engineering, because the first semester was purely chemical based subjects. The second semester takes a turn to the bio subjects.
Okay.
So we as chemical engineers, first semester was kind of easy for us, and the biotech people were like, okay, what's happening? And the second semester was the other way around. So
Okay.
because we absolutely had no idea about subjects like microbiology and like hardcore biology where you actually do those lab stuff. I mean, thankfully we didn't have that lab. Otherwise, I don't know. I guess I would have failed or something. It
Would have
been
taken
bad.
longer than 2 years, huh?
So,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, I would say end of the two semesters in the first year, you at least get an idea as to which direction you want to go to.
Okay.
The third semester onwards. So, like, believe that I didn't want to go to like main core chemical. I didn't want to go to main core biotech because it was, I would say, too hard for me. But I like the road which was in between, the process engineering one, which amalgamates both the streams. So I did my project also based on process engineering. It was basically on wastewater treatment. with the process engineering aspect of it. And on similar lines, I did the master thesis also.
Okay.
So, and yeah, so I think it worked out pretty well. I mean, it was, I would say, although it was not exactly planned, but it kind of fell into the plan. So, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of things happen like that. What were your grades, Malini, in the bachelor's? Because I mean, a lot of students are curious. They want to come into this course, but they don't know what kind of work experience they need, what kind of grades they need in the bachelor's and stuff.
Okay. So I think my we had this GPA system
Mm-hmm.
in BTech, and I had a 9.4 or something
Wow.
out of
Okay.
10.
That will be demotivating for a lot of students.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, internships and profile. I mean, some kind of experience like internship, something related to the field. If you have something to show in your CV that you have worked, something related to the subject you're applying to. Like for example, I had an internship in Shell, which was actually very much process engineering related, and I'm glad that I had that because it kind of shows that okay, you are ready to go a step further apart from your curriculum in the BTech and so on, because sometimes it's not possible that everyone can get a 9 point whatever and so on, and there are a lot of above average students as well. But for them, I think it's really good if they can improve their profile with these internships or some kind of research experience. And yeah, because here I feel that they give a lot of value to that apart from your grades. Based on that, I would say you should have I would say a decent BTech score,
Okay.
but good
What does decent
profile.
mean?
Decent in the sense, I would say, I guess somewhere between 7.5 to 9.
Okay, that's doable. That's still fine.
That's doable, yeah. I
Yeah.
would. That's why I just meant decent and not.
I thought decent would be like 8.5 or something.
No,
It's
no,
like,
no.
no.
7.5 till 9, I guess. I think that would work out pretty well for many students.
And in case they have bad grades or something, like they can go and work for a few years,
Yeah,
gather some
yeah.
work
Actually,
experience,
yeah.
and then
Many of
apply.
my classmates did that. I mean, there were I think three of us were fresh graduates, like
Okay.
including me. I didn't have a work ex as such, but there were people who had experience for 1 year or 2 years. I mean, one of my friends had employment in a biotech company, so that was like really good as a work experience when you're applying and so on. And one of my another classmate, this is her second master's.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think everything counts at the end of the day. I mean, even your work ex or your research experience also adds a lot to the profile when you're applying to the course.
Malini, can you suggest some like universities to which you applied to when you were like in the whole process of application and stuff?
You mean to say Germany, like in
Yeah,
specifically
I mean,
Germany?
right now for Germany, but like I'm also very curious about the part where you were like comparing US and Germany. But for now,
I
like,
was actually my selection process was, I would say, a little random. It was not very planned. So in US, I had applied to this university in Austin. I think I quite don't remember the university, but and one more at that Illinois, Chicago.
okay.
The Illinois Institute of Technology, Chicago, because they had this process engineering department, which was like very. I liked their curriculum a lot because they had, I think, it was not exactly a research based program, but I would say, what do you call that? The other type where it is where you don't submit a thesis. I don't know what that
Okay.
is.
I don't
Course
know.
based.
Okay,
Course
course
based.
based.
Yeah, and then apart from that, I applied to TUHH here, and then I also applied to TU Dortmund. They have this process engineering, and also I applied to TU Delft
Okay.
in Netherlands because they had this chemical product engineering course. And apart from that, I'd applied to this one program in which was like an Erasmus exchange program in three different universities. One was in ICT Prague, the other one was at Ghent, Belgium, and the other one was, I think, TU Delft.
Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, these were the, I mean, I think in the broad universities that I had applied to.
Okay.
So yeah, so I think out of that, I think TU had the, I think, the best profile because they offered the combination of both chemical and bio.
So, like, you don't regret at all to study in TUHH?
No, I don't regret. I am
Okay.
glad I came. Yeah.
But don't you feel like the university is a bit too small?
Yeah, very small. I feel that sometimes maybe the size does not matter. I would say that sometimes the quality does matter, but I also felt sometimes that when I was doing my thesis and project work and all, I think they can give, I guess, although there's really good research happening and stuff like that, but there's not much, I would say, advertisement, not much, it doesn't come to the public forefront that easily. So, I mean, if you compare Aachen, RWTH, Aachen with TUHH, you will be like, they have so much of research facilities and TU does not have. But I don't think that's completely true. I mean, because TUHH also has really fancy stuff on chemical and processing. They have a whole O building standing, a whole technicum standing with the reactors and stuff like that. So I think it's just that you need to find what kind of profile you want to work with. If you are interested in doing something in chemical, I mean there are so many institutes. And the best part is for my program there are lots of institutes to choose from.
Okay.
Which is not true. I mean, I would say many other programs had some limited number of institutes to choose from to do their project work or to do their master thesis, but I had a lot of institutes to choose from. So the choices are a lot. So you will not get completely lost if you like think, oh, I'm not getting the right topic to do my, thesis or stuff, but it works out at the end at the end anyway.
Malini, like I still have to go through this whole process about like this Projektarbeit und Masterarbeit. Like, how does it work? You have to select a topic yourself, or does the university offer you some kind of topics?
Well, as I said, suppose with respect to my course, I'll just tell. As I said, there are many institutes which actually offer their courses during the semester. So, based on that, if you visit the institute's profile web page, they have their open topics which you can choose from. And then once you do that, suppose you find a topic which interests you and you want to work with it, you can mail the concerned PhD student that you are interested to work for this topic. And if sometimes they conduct an interview, but not always. I mean, it depends on the institute actually. If they are very strict upon whom they want to, make them work or something, they are like, they might conduct. Else they just call you and they just ask you how motivated you are to do this particular topic, and then they just explain you what you need to do. And yeah, there is a time allotted, right, for you to finish the masters. Or I mean,
maximum is 4 years. I mean, you can take 8 semesters, but if you can prove that this wasn't my fault, there was something going on with the university or with the administration, then they can like extend your visa and you can like stay for a longer time. Malini, how did you figure out that you don't want to go to US anymore, you want to come to Germany? Firstly,
I think the problem of going to US was that firstly I think the tuition fee is really high. I mean along with your living expenses, I mean even if you try to get into, I mean even if you get an admit from any of these Ivy League colleges, I mean I think I think it's worth it because you get a job and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, what if you do not get a job? I mean, that's a huge question mark that time. And looking at the condition right now of US with the H1B1 visa issue and stuff like that, I think I'm glad that I didn't choose US because many of my friends are still struggling who have gone to US. So yeah, I think, but I wouldn't say it is very easy in Germany also because of the language. I would say. So I think you have to wait until you have to wait maybe at least for 6 months to find if you want to go towards the job side. I would say at least 6 months. And but I think end of the day, I'm glad that I didn't choose US and I chose to come to Germany. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my logic was, if you go to US, then you have to spend so much time, so many years just to earn money so that whatever minus you did during your
Yes,
studies,
you have to make up for that. Yeah.
exactly, just to come
Yes,
to that break even, and then
that's
afterwards,
true.
like,
Yeah.
you also don't have any kind of guarantee. Like here, at least, if you have a good job and you're earning above, I don't know, 43,000 euros per month or some
43,000.
per year, and then you can have your blue card.
Yeah,
You
yes,
can
yes.
stay
I mean,
here.
I think if you just get an employment contract, and I think that's sufficient. I
Yeah,
think, and a master's degree from Germany.
yeah,
Yes, I think
exactly.
that's enough to have a blue card, and then following that, I think you can get this permanent residency
Yeah,
also is easier
yeah,
to get.
yeah. I mean,
So
in 6 or 7 years, you can like stay here forever, like if you want to. Like in 6 to 7 years, all your formalities are done.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Malini, why didn't you go for a job now? Like, you told me that you're opting for a PhD. A lot less students go for it. What is your motivation behind it?
I would say there is one technical stuff involved in it, and also based on a motivation. The motivation was that I feel that I wanted to get a little bit more experience in a different university,
Okay.
and I didn't want to do a second master's for that reason. And I'm really interested later on to go into the R&D sector of any company, not exactly just do a desk job and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I'm genuinely interested in doing something related to the research and development side, and for that I need a doctorate degree for
Mm-hmm.
that. And also then the technical part that I would say was I also tried applying for jobs, and I did get one or two offers for that, but I would say that they kind of streamline the profile a lot when
Okay.
when you look for a job. I mean, although I can say that I am a chemical engineer, I can go look for anything related to chemical engineering here, but as per my experience, if you ask me, they are very strict about the profile requirements,
Okay.
and they are not very they do not want to broaden their scope at all. So and then but later but when I was applying for PhD at the same time, I and even through the interviews that when I was going through, there were times when the professor told, I mean, the different professors told me that, yeah, it's never too late to change your field. It'll help you later anyway, and stuff like that. So I felt that, okay, then I think that is the catch over here. I mean,
Okay.
the PhD helps you to broaden your scope,
Mm-hmm.
broaden your knowledge about some idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it need not be related to what you studied in masters, but
Mm-hmm.
it might have obviously it will have the ground rules, the ground knowledge that you have learned remains the same, but need not be something related to the master thesis that you have done.
Okay.
Actually, so this is the difference I faced when I made my applications to both types of employment.
A lot of students would be interested in the application procedure for PhD after the masters. Like, can you explain a bit in detail?
Yeah, well, I think the first things first is get a good motivation letter. It's very important to get a good motivation letter, and apart from that, have a good CV, have a good profile, and yeah, and but here in Germany, I saw that they are very much strict with the grade. If you want to do a PhD, I mean, they require at least a 2.5,
Mm-hmm.
at least a 2.5 as an overall grade. So I think that is one drawback. And yeah, even if you're kind of very much interested and stuff like that, if you have a very very good profile, maybe they might make an exception. I don't
Okay.
know about that, but they have a strict requirement of a good grade as well.
Okay.
But during the application process, I think based on the topic that you want to do, you can sometimes some universities say that you don't need to apply or make an application as such, but look at the the site with the research that is happening in the institute, and see the concerned professor who's
Okay.
leading that particular research. And if you're able to contact him and he's happy with your motivation that you want to do a PhD with them, they are ready to offer you the funding also.
Okay.
if that is the case. But most of the time, when I also tried doing that, many people said that we don't have the funding. If you have the funding, then please come and do the doc, because we cannot provide the funding. So another problem is the funding. So I think I would say that when you are applying for a PhD, look mostly for advertised positions, because the funding is like sanctioned already for those projects and stuff like that. But then also sometimes there are some universities who, if they are interested with the idea that you come up with and stuff like that, they can, or maybe go through the application of a scholarship. That is also possible. That with a DART scholarship, you can at least look, take care of the living expenses, if not the funding of the project. So I think these are some of the ways I think I learned while I was applying.
Malini, is there also some kind of proper website for PhDs, or do you also search it on DART?
Usually on DART. I mean, for Germany, you can look for DART, but websites which are, the job employment kind of websites, they also provide advertisement for wissenschaftliche Mitarbeiter, at least in Germany, because the ones that I had applied to and, attended the interviews and so on, many of them I got through a normal job portal and not through DART. And sometimes they don't advertise it on DART. Sometimes they advertise it on maybe normal job portals and so on. And apart from that, if at all you don't want to do in Germany, if you want to do in Netherlands and all, they have their respective websites to look for PhD in Netherlands or PhD in overall Europe. So yeah, there are websites, and I think if one Googles, you can find out a lot of websites. I did a lot of that. I mean, I didn't have a clear-cut idea as to how should I, go about it and stuff. But a little bit, I would say personal research is important when you're making these applications.
Now, Malini, do you know about what kind of visa processes you will be undertaking, like for your PhD stuff? Like, would you be continuing your student status, or do you have to change something?
I myself am right now not very sure about it. I mean, the thing is, I mean, in order to process a contract and stuff, they ask you the basic documents itself. But I think based on when you send them and stuff like that, I think they let you know that, you have to change your visa status or something like that. But as far as I know, as a wissenschaftlicher Mitarbeiter, I think you remain a student. I'm under the impression of that. But I think I just hope that, I mean, the visa status doesn't change, because I don't want that to happen, to be honest.
Yeah, too many expenses all of a sudden, honestly.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, because, I mean, although they will, I think, give you a salary of maybe, I wouldn't say it's too at par at entry level job here, but then suddenly if they change your visa status into the proper, the Einstellung type of visa, I think you incur a lot of expenses. So, but I'm hoping that I still remain a student and, don't undergo the visa change procedure and so on.
So, I mean, I heard the salary for PhD is somewhere around 1,400 euros or something per month. Or does it depend from university to university?
They have these various tax classes. I saw when I was, applying for them. They have this class called TLV 13, the Steuer, this thing for TLV 13. Now, based on the type of work that they assign you as a PhD student, it might be, say, 65% of TLV 13 or 70% of TLV 13. So, as a TLV 13 class of taxation, what I read was that you get a gross salary. This is I'm just telling without taxes of around 3,100 or 3,200. This is if it's 100% TLV 13 approved project. But then later with taxes, I think that boils down to around 2,000 euros. I think in whatever you get as a netto. And that is if it's TLV 13 100%. But then if you are given like 50 or 65% or 70%, so that percentage of that 100% would be what you will be actually getting, and based on that the tax will also be calculated. So yeah, I think average I would say that a PhD scholar gets at least like 1200, 1300 a
Okay.
month.
Hmm.
That is like an average salary, I would say.
Yeah, I mean that is fine if you want to like sustain your living expenses.
Yeah, that's
Did you also do a student job on the side, or you didn't do
yeah,
anything?
I did.
Okay.
In fact, I did a student job with my thesis.
Uh-huh.
So
That's really
that was,
tough.
I think, I did a student job at the university itself,
Okay.
the position of a HEV.
Hmm.
So I did it for a period of 6 months. So the particular institute hired me for like 3 months first, and then extended my contract again for the next 3 months.
Okay.
So yeah, I actually took up the student job only towards the end of my masters, because I know that along with my courses I won't be able to manage
Hmm.
my time, giving time to the lectures and attending exams. Along with that, the Neben job is, I think, not very realistic. It wasn't very realistic for me, so that's why I took the time towards the end of my masters actually. So
Okay.
because I mean, in the daytime I used to, I would say the first half of my afternoon I used to go for my, lab stuff
Hmm.
and like that. After that, I used to, work for 2-3 hours in the heavy job. So yeah, I mean, it was tiring, but okay, it was fine. You get some money
Yeah, I mean that is
at the
also
end of
very
6 months.
important. But would you say like is it tough to find a part-time job while you're a student or
You mean to say in the university or outside as
I
well?
think in general, I mean even if you wanted to apply to some company which was related to chemical engineering and you wanted to do maybe a student job there, would it have been easy or not so much?
Well, if you're talking about student jobs in a company, like the work student
Yeah.
kind that you're talking about, no, it's not very easy, because I think so it depends a lot on your luck actually.
Hmm.
Because I did apply to many types, and then I kind of gave up. I said, "Oh, I don't want to. It's okay, fine. I'm just losing time on doing that."
Hmm.
And but then I was also simultaneously emailing some PhD scholars who require help for that, the as a student to share Hillscraft.
Hmm.
So luckily there was one PhD scholar who responded. I mean, they required
Hmm.
some help for their work. So yeah, I mean, that worked out. I mean, I don't think it is at par what the companies pay you.
Hmm.
Definitely not, because the number of hours are different
Hmm.
that you work as a student to share Hillscraft here, and as a work student, I think the number of hours are definitely more than here. So
Okay.
yeah, I think my the mini job was only university based. I didn't go outside
Okay.
much.
I don't know. I don't really like the university's area, honestly. I mean, it just feels weird and it feels too small. It's like you start from one end of the university, you go to the other end. It's like maybe takes maximum 10 or 15 minutes and you're done with the university. You're on the other side. But like
Yeah,
I've heard about Aachen and Munich, like the universities are so big, there are so many
yeah.
students. But in like TUHH, it's really small. But I think it's also then cozy in that
Exactly,
sense.
yeah. I was about to say that,
Yeah.
because I mean, the smaller it is, I think you know the people around you more, and it's much. I would say you are more comfortable. You know how you need to go about in the university and stuff, because in the big university, sometime, at least I have seen in the University of Hamburg. Oh my God, it's spread across such a huge.
Yeah.
You have to take a bus to go from one building to the other
Yeah.
building, something like that. But I think in that way, I would say it's nice, and it's a very young university.
Mm.
The TUHH, it started pretty recently. I mean, compared to the other TUs that I have seen. But I think for such a young university, I think it's doing pretty good for the amount of years that it's been active. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, especially like the Indian students community here in TUHH, it's insane. Like it is
Yeah.
really well connected, and the events they have, the kind of work they do together, all of it, it's really good.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think it's better than University of Hamburg. I don't know even if they have any kind of association there.
Me neither, and I have no idea.
Is there something you want to tell us viewers or your juniors who would be going through the same courses that you went through? Like something that you learned in TUHH, some struggles, anything that you would like to share?
Well, struggles, I would say, I would recommend people not to take more than what a person can, take as a workload I would
Mm-hmm.
say, because and also not to look at someone and someone is taking so many courses, I should also take it. That kind of mentality kind of comes off, because it's not the same. What you do in BTech is completely different from what you do here as a master's student. And see your limitations, see what you like, because here you can there is an opportunity to explore and go into different fields, because in BTech you're kind of in a straitjacket where you have to follow a set
Mm-hmm.
curriculum and go ahead. So I would say that, yeah, I mean, don't get disheartened if you maybe get fail in one or two subjects
Mm-hmm.
in the first semester,
Yeah.
because that, yeah, I mean, you are accustomed to not failing at all in BTech or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But yeah, this is just a learning process, and with that kind of failure, you know actually what kind of preparation you need to do the next time,
Mm-hmm.
I would say. So, I would just tell the juniors, take your time and just see what kind of profile you want to choose. If it's I think job related or so on, then you can definitely take some semester off to do internships and so
Mm-hmm.
on, to build your profile. So yeah, I think that's what I would say.
Okay.
I mean,
Taking a Urlaub semester and doing an internship, that's not a bad idea if you want to
yeah, that
go
is
for a
actually
job. Yeah, because I mean, most of the times it's very hard that company just hire you all of a sudden just through one interview. Most of the times they look for somebody who has already done an internship. They know how they
mm,
work, how their work
exactly.
experiences, ethics are. Yeah, I think that is also a better way. Well, Malini, thank you so much for your
Yeah,
time. That was really nice talking to you. I think soon we'll hear Dr. Malini Das Gupta
I
from
don't
your
know. I
side.
hope so.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that was really nice that you took out time. And again, thank you so much. Stay in touch.
Yeah,
And I wish
sure.
you all the best for Duisburg.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.